Hey friends, welcome back to Clear Enough, the podcast about getting clear on what matters one imperfect step at a time. I'm your host, Drew Bushman, and today I want to talk about something I think every one of us have lived through at least once, maybe this week. It's 2 a.m., you're asleep, or at least you were. Then out of nowhere, your brain decides to throw a surprise party you never RSVP'd to. You know that moment. You wake up, not gently, but all at once, heart pounding, chest tight, eyes wide open in the dark. And before you can even figure out what woke you up, you're already mid-thought about something you can't control. A work email, a fight with your spouse, a bill you forgot to pay. The sound of your own heart beating so loud it feels like a drum inside your head. And you lie there, staring at the ceiling, angry at yourself for being awake, anxious that you're awake, replaying the same thought until it grows teeth. That's what I call the 2 a.m. brain. It's the version of your mind that only seems to wake up when everything else is quiet, when the distractions are gone and all that's left is your inner dialogue on full volume. And the 2 a.m. brain has one job: to convince you that everything is falling apart. For me, the worst of my 2 a.m. wake-up started a few years ago. At the time, I was working as a trust officer for a complicated estate administration, the kind of case that eats up your days and your sanity in equal measure. It wasn't just large, it was toxic. The family and the charity had been in bitter legal standoff for years. Both sides were convinced the other was evil. Both sides thought they deserved more. And somehow we, the trust company, were stuck in the middle of it. I didn't create the problem, I inherited it. But when you're the one sending the emails, signing the documents, you become the target anyway. Every day my inbox was full of new accusations. Why haven't you finished this yet? You're mishandling the assets. If you don't comply with our request immediately, we'll escalate this. Nothing I did was ever fast enough or good enough. And every time I tried to fix one problem, 3 more popped up behind it. The stress didn't hit me all at once. It built slowly, like a drip in a ceiling you don't notice until the drywall caves in. One night, after a day full of those angry emails, I went to bed exhausted. I remember thinking, I just need to close my eyes. I need a few hours of peace. But at 2:14 a.m., my eyes snapped open, heart pounding, hands shaking tight, and this thought, clear as a headline: what nastiness am I going to walk into in the morning? That one question flooded my body with adrenaline, like I'd been dropped in cold water, and I couldn't calm it down. That was the night I realized this wasn't about stress anymore. This was fear. Here's the thing I didn't understand then, but I do now. When you wake up like that, with your heart racing and your lungs tight, your body isn't asking you to think. It's trying to protect you. That's the nervous system doing its job. Badly timed, but well-intentioned. See, your body can't tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. It reacts to an email in the same way it would a tiger in the woods. Your body thinks you're in danger, and that's what makes the 2 a.m. brain so tricky. You know there's no tiger, but your pulse doesn't care. You can't talk your body out of panic. You have to help your body feel safe again. That's where the work starts. Step 1. First time someone told me that deep breathing could calm anxiety, I rolled my eyes. I'm a lawyer. I wanted a logical fix. Breathing felt like advice you'd give to a toddler. But one night, desperate to feel anything other than terrified, I tried something called square breathing. It's simple. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. I placed my fingers on my neck so I could feel my pulse. And slowly, almost reluctantly, my body started listening. The rhythm of my breath began to pull my heartbeat into sync. My chest softened and my hands stopped shaking. It wasn't perfect, but it was proof I wasn't powerless. That's when I remembered something mindfulness teacher John Kabat-Zinn said. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. And that line changed everything for me, because it doesn't say the waves will stop coming. They won't. He says that you can learn how to move with them. The 2 a.m. brain is a wave. You can't reason it away. You can only ride it until it passes. So I made that quote a mantra. Now when my eyes fly wide open in the dark, I whisper, you can't stop the waves, Drew. You can learn to surf them. And that tiny sentence shifts my energy from panic to patience. It reminds me that my job isn't to make the waves disappear. It's to stay afloat long enough for the morning to come. Step 2. Here's what usually happens next. Once the physical panic starts to settle, the mental panic tries to take over. It starts with a tiny no moment. That random thought that pops up like a notification bubble on my phone. Did I forget to reply to that client? I think I missed a deadline. What if I sent the wrong file? And your brain, being the overachiever that it is, immediately says, let's review everything you've ever done wrong since 2012. Now that you're wide awake again, here's what I started doing instead. When I wake up with that, oh no, I forgot something, panic, I grab my phone, open my personal email, and send myself a one-line message. Follow up on the Smith Estate file. First thing, add beneficiary docs to review list. That's it. I don't try to fix anything. I don't open the laptop. I don't start drafting a reply. I just capture the thought and give it somewhere to live outside of my brain. Because the brain doesn't need a resolution at 2 a.m. It needs reassurance. It's saying, don't forget me. When you write it down, you're answering, I won't. That's enough for the mind to release its grip. It's like leaving a light on in a hallway. You know where everything is, and now you can finally go back to sleep. Step 3. Sometimes, though, the 2 a.m. brain isn't worried about logistics. It's worried about you. It whispers all the ugliest things you can think of. You're not good enough. You're going to mess everything up. Everyone's going to find out you have no idea what you're doing. You know the list. The 2 a.m. brain doesn't whisper. It accuses. And the cruel thing is, it uses your own voice. It sounds just like you. I used to fight those thoughts. I'd argue with them in my head like a courtroom debate. But arguing doesn't always work. Sometimes it just feeds the thoughts. Now I meet them with something softer. When my mind says, you're a failure, I say, if I really were a failure, I wouldn't still be trying to improve. That's what I call my compassion line. It's not a pep talk. It's not toxic positivity. It's truth. Because people who've given up don't worry about being better. Only people who care do that. And the fact that I care, that you care, means you're already moving in the right direction. Step 4. I want to tell you about something I call the trust gap. It's the space between night you, the anxious, exhausted version of yourself who wakes up panicking, and day you, the competent, capable human who actually handles life. When night you wakes up, it's because it doesn't trust that day you will take care of things tomorrow. You said you'd stop checking email after dinner. You said you'd leave work at work. You said you'd handle that small thing first thing in the morning, and sometimes you didn't. So now, night you doesn't believe you anymore. It wakes you up at 2 a.m. because it doesn't think you're reliable. It's like an anxious coworker who keeps micromanaging because no one ever follows through. And I get it. I used to live in that cycle constantly. Night Drew waking up to double check what day Drew promised he'd finish. The only way to heal that trust gap is to start showing your brain proof. Here's what I started doing. Every evening before I close my laptop, I spend 10 minutes writing a short list, no more than 3 things. 3 things that future me, the morning version of me, needs to take care of. I write them down and put the list on my keyboard and say out loud, that's tomorrow's work. That's it. No big journaling ritual, no productivity app, no color-coded spreadsheet, just a sticky note and a sentence. And it works because it closes the open tabs in my brain before I ever walk away from my desk. That one little phrase, that's tomorrow's work, became a ritual. It's my way of clocking out from the day's anxiety. And if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. Peace doesn't come from controlling your schedule. It comes from completing your transitions. Your brain can't rest if you never tell it the day is done. A reflection practice. If you want to try this, here's a little exercise that's simple but powerful. I call it 3 by 10. Before bed, spend 10 minutes writing 3 things. 1 responsibility, something you'll handle tomorrow. 1 gratitude, something that went right today. And 1 permission, something you're choosing to release tonight. That's all. 1 task, 1 thank you, 1 let go. It sounds small, but it rewires your sense of safety. It tells your nervous system, we have a plan. We have perspective. We can rest. It's a micro act of faith in yourself and in tomorrow. And it's funny how quickly your body learns that it's safe again once you start proving that you'll take care of things when you're awake. Step 5. Let's talk about something uncomfortable, our phones. If you're anything like me, when you wake up in the middle of the night, the easiest thing to do and the worst thing to do is to reach for your phone right away. You tell yourself, I'm just checking the time. But then there's that tiny red badge on the screen, a notification, a message, a dopamine hit waiting to happen. And before you know it, you're scrolling courtroom videos or productivity reels at 2:30 a.m., completely awake, completely wired, and completely miserable. Here's what I didn't know until I started reading about it. Every time you wake up and grab your phone, your brain gets a little reward. It releases dopamine, the same chemical that reinforces habits. Your brain goes, ooh, this is good. I woke up and got stimulation. And it starts to do it on purpose. That's why some of us wake up around the same time every night. We've trained our brains to think that there's something exciting waiting for us in the dark. But here's another quote that helped me reframe this from Dale Carnegie. He said, if you can't sleep, get up and do something instead of lying there worrying. That doesn't mean grab your phone. It means engage your body. If you can't sleep, your mind is stuck in gear. So give it a physical outlet. What do something can look like? For me, that means I get out of bed and change the scenery. Sometimes I'll go lay on the couch, or I'll dim the lights and listen to something gentle, an audiobook, a slow podcast, or a sleep story. Sometimes I'll stretch my shoulders just to remind my body that I'm allowed to move. Sometimes I'll pour a glass of water, take a few deep breaths, and simply sit. And 9 times out of 10, that shift in environment is enough to reset my body's alarm system. Because your body doesn't care about the clock, it cares about cues. Changing the environment tells it, we're safe, we're calm, we're allowed to rest. When I come back to bed, I usually fall asleep faster than if I'd stayed there fighting with my thoughts. And that brings me to something I didn't understand until I experienced it. That nighttime anxiety is not your enemy. It can be your teacher. Once I stopped resenting my sleepless nights, I started learning from them. I realized that my 2 a.m. brain is just a scared messenger. It's saying something in your life feels out of alignment. Maybe you've been saying yes to too many people. Maybe you've been chasing goals that don't belong to you. Maybe you've been running on caffeine and adrenaline and calling it ambition. Your body isn't trying to ruin your rest. It's trying to get your attention. There's a line from Corrie ten Boom that always sticks with me. She said, worry doesn't empty tomorrow of its sorrow. It empties today of its strength. And when I first heard that, I realized that's what I'd been doing. I was spending all my strength fighting imaginary battles in the dark. The 2 a.m. brain was never my enemy. It was part of me begging to live differently. It was trying to tell me, you can't keep living like this. You're not built for constant fight or flight. You're built for purpose and peace. Let's take a quick reflection break. If you're listening to this right now, maybe even lying awake, I want you to try something. Put your hand over your chest. Feel that heartbeat and just say, I'm listening. Not to me, to yourself, to your body, to your thoughts, to your spirit. Because maybe that 2 a.m. wake up isn't a punishment. Maybe it's an invitation to slow down, to breathe, to realign. Step 6. The truth is you can't control when you wake up in the middle of the night, but you can control what happens next. You can build what I call your 2 a.m. protocol, a personal plan for what you'll do when the panic hits. Here's mine. Pause. Name what's happening. Okay, this is just my 2 a.m. brain talking. Breathe. 4 counts square breathing until I can feel my pulse slow down. Capture. Send myself that 1-line email. Handle this tomorrow. And whisper, I care. That means I'm growing. Shift, sit up, stretch, maybe move to the couch. Soothe, turn on something calming, a podcast, a sleep story, a prayer, and then return. Go back to bed once my body feels heavier than my thoughts. That's my ritual. And every time I use it, I'm reminding my body that I'm in charge now. You can call this habit formation, or you can call it a spiritual practice. I think it's some of both. Because the more I've studied psychology and faith, the more I see they're telling the same story in different languages. Both say that peace doesn't come from escaping your storms. It comes from learning to stand still inside them. And sometimes that starts at 2 a.m., in the dark, with nothing but your breath and your faith that morning will come again. Now I want to shift from coping to changing. Because if your 2 a.m. brain is speaking up, it's not asking to be soothed, it's also asking for a new rhythm. Step 7. Let's be honest, most of us don't prepare for rest. We prepare for productivity. We've got planners, workflows, Pomodoro timers, accountability buddies, all for getting more done. But almost none of us have a system for stopping. And that's the irony. We act like rest is what happens after the work is finished, when really it's part of the work. Here's a quote that changed how I think about that. It's from author Annie Dillard. She said, "How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives." I remember reading that one night and thinking, well, that's depressing, because I'm spending a lot of time in Outlook. But it hit me. If I want my life to feel peaceful, I can't just hope for peace someday. I have to build it into the fabric of my days. That includes how I end them. Here's what that looks like in real life for me. Around 8:30 or 9, I start an off-ramp, a slow guide from productivity to peace. It's not a hard stop, it's a taper. And some nights it starts at 11:30. But first, I dim the lights, not because I'm fancy, but because bright light tells your brain it's still daytime. Second, I change locations. If I've been working or scrolling in my office, I move to a chair by the window or the couch or at the kitchen counter. Third, I offload my thoughts. Literally, I write down anything that's bouncing around inside my brain. Tasks, ideas, worries, even the dumb little thoughts that don't deserve a to-do list. The goal isn't organization, it's evacuation. Once it's out of my head, I can breathe again. And finally, I pick one gentle anchor for the night, something I can associate with calm. It might be reading a few pages of a novel, listening to a sleep story, or even just brushing my teeth slower than normal. These little rituals tell my body, we're transitioning, we're safe, we can start letting go. Because here's what I've learned. The 2 a.m. brain doesn't come from nowhere. It's the echo of an unclosed day. If you never truly end your day, your brain doesn't know where to file the unfinished parts. A simple practice. Try this sometime this week. At 9 p.m., ask yourself 3 questions. What can wait till tomorrow? What deserves a quick note so I don't carry it mentally? And what small act of kindness can I give myself before bed? That's it. You don't need an app or a journal or a candlelit bath, though those help too. I'm a big bath guy. You just need awareness and consistency, because what you repeat before bed becomes the story that your body remembers when it wakes up at 2 a.m. Step 8. Now I want to talk about something that's harder to measure, but absolutely essential. Faith. And I don't just mean religious faith, though for me that's a huge part of it. I mean faith as a posture, a way of holding uncertainty without needing to control it. When you wake up in the dark, your world feels smaller. It feels tighter. The walls feel closer. The problems feel bigger and the clock feels louder. And in that moment, your brain is desperate for certainty. It wants to do something. Faith says you don't have to. You can trust that morning will come. There's this verse that carries me through more sleepless nights than I can count. Joy comes in the morning. And some nights that line is the only thing I can cling to. Not because I immediately feel joy, but because it reminds me that even this pit in my chest, this buzzing in my hands, isn't permanent. It's passing through. So when my mind starts spiraling, I whisper, I've survived every night before this one. And somehow, that's enough. One night, not long after I'd been dealing with those brutal estate emails, I woke up in full panic mode. You know the kind. Your body's always already halfway out of bed before your mind catches up. I tried square breathing. I tried writing the thought down. Nothing worked. So I went out to the living room, sat on the couch in the dark, and just breathed. And I remember thinking of something my wife once said when one of our kids couldn't sleep. She told them, "You don't have to make yourself sleep. You just have to make yourself comfortable until sleep finds you. So just lay down." And that became my new version of faith. You don't have to fix everything tonight. You just have to make yourself comfortable until the peace comes to you. And that's faith too. It's the belief that you don't have to white knuckle your way through everything, that rest can be received, not just forced. Step 9. The more I practiced this, the more I realized my body wasn't the problem. It was the barometer. Every time my 2 a.m. wake-ups came back, it wasn't random, it was data. They flared up when I was working too much, when I was ignoring my boundaries, when I was living outside my values, and they quieted when I was aligned, when my days matched my priorities. It's funny how our bodies keep the score long before we're willing to admit we're exhausted. And maybe you've noticed the same thing. When you go through seasons of stress or overcommitment, your body whispers it before your mind admits it. You get tension headaches. You can't focus. You wake up at 2 a.m. with your heart pounding. That's not failure. That's feedback. Your body is saying, something's off. Let's fix it together. So instead of resenting those nights, I started thanking them because they were showing me where I was out of alignment. Reflection break. Here's a question for you. And if you've got a journal ready, write it down. What is my 2 a.m. brain trying to tell me that I've been too busy to hear? Don't overthink it. Don't justify it. Just listen. Because sometimes the answer isn't, I need to work less or I need to meditate more. Sometimes the answer is deeper. Something like, I need to forgive myself. I need to stop pretending I'm fine. I need to start asking for help. That's the wisdom inside the wake up. The goal isn't to stop the noise. It's to understand what it's trying to say. Now let's talk about what happens after the night. Because if you want to sleep better tonight, you have to live better tomorrow. Step 10. The best way to train your body to rest is to prove every day that it can rely on you. Morning is your chance to start that conversation. You can build a 10-minute anchor or a micro routine that becomes a necessity for you. Not because you want to be a morning person, but because you're tired of letting your night brain run the show. Here's how it could work. Before you open your email, before you scroll, before you even check the weather, spend 10 minutes doing 3 simple things. Move your body. Nothing fancy, just enough to tell your nervous system you're alive and safe. Stretch, walk, breathe. It's not about burning calories. It's about burning anxiety. Name one win from the day. Maybe you showed up for your kids. Maybe you said no to something that would have drained you. Recognizing wins teaches your brain that progress is happening, that you're not stuck. And set one intention for the day. Not a goal, an intention. Something like, I'll pause before I react, or I'll protect my peace during my commute. That's it. 10 minutes of movement, gratitude, and direction. It's small, but it's enough to tell your body, we're grounded now. We can stop running. And what you'll find, what I found, is that the more you strengthen that morning anchor, that muscle, the quieter your 2 a.m. brain becomes, because it starts to trust that day you has things handled. Step 11. This next part might sound strange, but I started talking to my 2 a.m. brain like a scared child. When I woke up, I'd say, hey buddy, I know you're worried, but we already wrote that down. We'll handle it tomorrow. And I'd picture myself as 2 people, the anxious version who needed comfort and the grounded version who could give it. And that's what self-trust looks like in practice. It's not convincing yourself that everything's fine. It's telling yourself the truth kindly. Things are hard, but we can handle it. Your body learns safety through repetition. Every night you stay calm, you write the thought down instead of spiraling. You're rewiring your brain. You're proving over and over and over, I'm safe in my own company. I'm a bit of a nerd for the science behind this. Here's what's actually happening. Every time you practice a calming ritual, breathing, gratitude, gentle movement, you're strengthening the neural pathways between your prefrontal cortex, the logic center, and your amygdala, the fear center. You're teaching your brain that not every spike in adrenaline equals danger. Over time, your baseline anxiety decreases because your body learns it doesn't need to sound the alarm every time something feels uncertain. And the coolest part? That same rewiring makes you calmer during the day, too. It's not just better sleep, it's more peace throughout your life. There's another quote I love, one that feels like the final, step 12. There's another quote I love, one that feels like the final thread connecting all of this together. It's by C.S. Lewis. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. When I first read that, I thought about all those nights I'd wasted lying anxious, angry at myself for being anxious, resentful of my own mind. But that quote reminds me, I can't change those nights. I can only change the next one. So instead of trying to erase my 2 a.m. brain, I started thanking it because it taught me things for daylight confidence never could. It taught me to listen to my body. It taught me to set boundaries. It taught me to slow down. And maybe that's the biggest shift of all. Realizing your anxiety doesn't make you broken. It makes you aware. A few weeks ago, I woke up again around 2:30 a.m. Same familiar pulse, same whisper of panic. But this time, something different happened. I noticed my heart pounding, and I smiled a little bit. Not because I liked it, but because I recognize it. I said out loud, "Well, hey, buddy, how are you doing?" And then I breathed, 4 by 4 by 4 by 4. Felt my pulse start to slow down under my fingertips. I got up, walked to the kitchen, got some water, and stood there for a quiet second. And instead of replaying every fear, I thought about the moments that made the day worth living. My daughter laughing at dinner, the smell of popcorn during movie night, the sound of my wife's voice when she says, "Hey, I'm glad you're home." And for the first time in a long time, I felt peace at 2 a.m. Because peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the ability to stay soft inside when the noise is happening around you. Step 13, I want to leave you with something tangible, something you can keep in your notes app or a post-it by your bed. When you wake up in the middle of the night, and you will, because you're human and you care, try this sequence. Name it. This is my 2 a.m. brain talking. It's scared, not broken. Breathe. In for 4, hold for 4, out 4, hold 4, until your heartbeat drops by at least 1 beat. Capture the thought. Email yourself. Jot it down. Whatever lets your brain release the task. Offer compassion. Say something kind. I care, and that means I'm growing. Shift your space. Sit up, stretch, or change rooms. Choose a gentle input. Music, prayer, or a podcast that soothes rather than stimulates. Trust morning. Remind yourself, I've survived every night before this one. That's it. That's your 2 a.m. protocol. Every time you walk through it, you're building a new story about who you are. One where peace isn't something you chase, it's something you practice. If your 2 a.m. brain could talk, it might not be saying you're failing. It might be saying you're ready. Ready to slow down. Ready to believe you can rest. Ready to trust yourself again. Because peace doesn't come from getting rid of worry. It comes from learning that you can face them without losing yourself. And maybe that's the lesson of the 2 a.m. brain, that the mind that panics in the dark is the same mind that creates light in the morning. So tonight, when you find yourself awake, staring at the ceiling, remember this: you don't have to fix it. You don't have to win the argument in your head. You don't have to make yourself sleep. You just have to make yourself comfortable until peace finds you. And when it does, even if it's only for a few minutes before the alarm, let that be enough, because it is. Hey friends, thanks for listening to Clear Enough. If this episode helped you quiet your own 2 a.m. brain, I've got a free guide you might love. It's called Transform Your Work-Life Balance. Redefine success for more peace and purpose. It's a simple, practical workbook to help you realign your career and your life with what truly matters. so you can sleep better at night knowing your days are spent on what counts. You can grab it right now through the link in the show notes or over at drewbushman.com. And if you want more daily encouragement, come hang out with me on Instagram. I'm at clear.enough. Until next time, friends, breathe easy, rest well, and remember, you're clear enough to begin again.